So, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I am Muskan Chopra, chairperson at CCT Student Chapter. We at CCT envision building a community of like minded people who love to code, collaborate, and have fun in the tech savvy society. Keeping the same in mind, we also invite interested student speakers to discuss and share their skills in their expertise with other individuals and technology associated people. Over the years, our chapter has been growing and involving more tech enthusiasts who share their experience and knowledge of their domain with other budding technocrats. Today's speaker is Siddharth Sharma from second year CSE, Chandel College of Engineering and Technology. Over to you, Siddharth.
Thank you, ma'am, for introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Siddharth from CSC second year, and currently I'm associated with ACM as executive member. And let me just give you the overview of today's lecture. So, first of all, I'll be introducing you to today's highlight topic and how you can start your ethical hacking journey. Basically, many people are excited about how to start learn hacking basics and all that stuff, so it will definitely help you to start your journey. For today's workshop, we will be setting up a hacking lab where I'll be introducing you to the Kali Linux operating system. So basically, this is the system that we are going to use for learning the network basics and basics of ethical hacking. And then I'll explain you a little about network connections over Wi-Fi and how they work. And then we will talk about privacy and protecting yourself from such network attacks. So in today's lecture, you will not only learn how to penetrate into different networks and exploit the vulnerabilities of the system, but at the same time, you will also learn how to protect yourself from such attacks. So let's move to the introduction part and see what is hacking. So, hacking refers to the activities that seek to compromise the digital devices. So, these digital devices can be anything, be it a computer, tablet, laptop, or maybe a Wi-Fi modem. Any network device that has an IP address can be hacked and can be exploited using different techniques. So that is all about hacking, and it can be used as uh, an unlawful activity. You must have heard about tons of data breaches that happen every year. Recently, Uber suffered from a similar attack and it costed them millions of dollars. So, hacking can be used as criminal activities. At the same time, it can also be used by organizations to protect themselves from such attacks. So, definitely, these are called uh, the bug bounty programs that the organizations launch. So bug bounty programs are a really exciting way to explore your hacking journeys. Basically, these are programs launched by big MNCs such as Google, Facebook, and Microsoft every year in order to check their system security and how secure the system is against any sort of cyber attacks. So these companies invite the independent researchers to report bugs to an organization, and accordingly, they receive the bounties. That's the money that they receive for reporting any sort of bug that might have caused a cyber attack on their systems. So, some of the famous bug bounty programs are the one by Google, that is the Google Vulnerability Reward Program, the Facebook Bug Bounty Program, and the Microsoft Bug Bounty Program. So they reward you quite a lot, and it is a really nice way to explore these and make yourself a career out of this. So first of all, we are going to talk about types of hackers. So basically, there are three types of categories in hackers that work in the system. First of all, the white hat hackers. These are basically the hackers associated with the organizations. It can be a financial organization like a bank, or maybe a social media organization like Facebook. So these hackers are employed by these organizations, and they are paid in order to test their system security so as to protect themselves from the cyber attacks from outside their organization. So they try to explore the system lapses and try to fix them as soon as possible. Then comes the black hat hackers. Well, these are the criminal minds that are responsible for the cyber attacks that you hear these days in the news. So basically, the black hat hackers are skilled hackers who work for sophisticated criminal organizations that sometimes provide collaboration tools for their workers and offer them service agreements. So it's totally an organized way, even in the criminal world, to employ the hackers. And there are various organizations that employ these hackers, and they pay them good amount of money, which comes from the extortion by blackmailing or doing data thefts. And apart from these black hat hackers also launch various hacking tools on the dark web time and again. And these tools can be used in order to exploit the systems, and these are not available on the surface web, so definitely you need to access the dark web. And apart from that, there's a third category of hackers, that's the gray hat hackers. Basically, these are not come under any organization. However, they do not indulge themselves in any sort of criminal activities. Basically, they tend to assess the system vulnerabilities without the permission of the organization. However, their motive isn't any sort of criminal activity or extortion. So today we are going to talk about network hacking. So what does network hacking basically mean? Supposedly you are connected to a Wi-Fi system, a public Wi-Fi system maybe. So the Wi-Fi systems tend to have many devices connected to them at the same time. So you can actually gain access to these devices using various techniques that we are going to learn later in this lecture. And apart from that, you can also steal data or control the whole system. By controlling, I mean like you can uh, have access to the camera or the data or anything that might be at the hardware level of that machine. So these are the different phases of entering a system. First of all, we need to gain access to the system. This can include hacking into a Wi-Fi network using different network penetration techniques. So hacking into a Wi-Fi network basically requires a Wi-Fi LAN adapter. So that is something you can buy from the market, but beginners are not suggested to use that because it is expensive and it is something that you won't use at the early stages of learning ethical hacking. So we can create a public Wi-Fi network as well for the host to connect to the network. Once we gain access to such networks, we now can explore the possible options of entering into the system. So we need to explore the devices connected, we need to identify the host, and then we can exploit the vulnerabilities. We can see what all ports are possibly open and how we can enter into the system, or what you can call as a backdoor entry. So apart from this, once you have gained access to the system, then we launch the post connection attacks. These are, as you can see, stealing data, controlling the system, and other stuff. So let's move up to the next slide. So today we will be setting up a hacking lab, and we will be using virtual machines, both the attack machine as well as the host operating system. The host operating system will be a Windows 10 operating system. We won't be using our own laptops operating system because using it might corrupt your files and can damage the system. So I recommend you using the virtual system, as even in case it might break, so you won't suffer any sort of damage on your laptop. So we are going to first of all talk about what virtual machines actually are. So virtual machines are the machines that work inside an operating system, as a complete operating system itself. It utilizes the resources through virtualization software. So virtualization software sends requests to the host operating system, in my case the Windows 10, and then it allocates the RAM memory accordingly. So let me just show you. All right, so as you can see, I have the VM workware station. So this is a virtualization software, and I have two virtual machines installed over here. First is the Kali Linux machine, and the second is the Windows 10 host operating system, like the machine on which we are going to launch the attacks. So you can see over here, they have been allocated RAM. I have allocated 5.7 GB to the Kali Linux machine, and yeah, 2 GB to the Windows 10 operating system. You can change the RAM allocation accordingly. So this is the minimum requirement for the guest operating system, and recommended memory 2 GB. So the more memory allocated to the operating system, the faster it will be to respond. And this shows the hard drive memory allocation. You don't need to fiddle with it. You can only change the RAM memory, and that would be just fine. So let me tell you how we actually install these operating systems. Mm, Let's go back to the workspace. All right. So first of all, you need to download the VMware. This is the link. I'm going to put this in the chat box. This is the link to the virtualization software that we are going to use. Apart from this, we also have the VirtualBox and other softwares, but I prefer VMware.
नया सा post applications related.
So after that, you will install the Windows VMware for Windows or whatever your operating system is. So once you've installed it, now I'll show you. Uh, yeah, this is how it's going to look like once you have installed it. So there's going to be a installation wizard that's going to open, and it's really easy. Since the product is already installed on my computer, you can see over here, so it won't be installing itself again. And yeah, you can install it by pressing next, 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 next. So this is how we install the virtualization software. All right, let me show you how we install the Kali Linux machine. I already provided the messages in the box, and this is the link I'm going to show you. I won't be opening the site because won't it would take a lot of time, so I'll just provide you with the link. So this is the link. This is a custom Kali image, like not the stock Kali Linux machine, because it has some custom softwares installed on it, and I recommend using it. Apart from this, you would also be needing the virtual machine for the Windows, and you can install it by just typing virtual, just virtual Windows machine. So this is what opens over here, and make sure you install the virtual machine for the VMware and not any other virtualization software listed over here. Once you have installed both these softwares, I'm going to show you how you can set up the virtual machine. So the Kali Linux is going to be installed in a zip format, and make sure you have the 7-zip installed in your computer. And once you have downloaded this, all you have to do is extract the files. I have already extracted it over here. This is the Kali Linux extracted version, and Windows 10 is already downloaded in its non-zipped form. So after you have installed both the operating systems, what you have to do is that you have to open the VMware workstation. I have opened it, and you have to go to open a virtual machine. So it's already showing me, it has detected itself, there's a virtual machine in your laptop. So you just have to click on open and the virtual machine would be ready to use. Similar is the case with setting up the windows. After that, all you have to do is make sure that you allocate the correct memory, that is the RAM, because the software would lag in case you allocate too much memory to it. I recommend you using 2 GB, but if you have more RAM, like 16 GB in my case, you can allocate greater memory. I have allocated almost 6 gigabytes of memory to the Kali Linux. All right, let's return back to the slide. So this is how we set up the hacking lab. And now we head forward. Now, introduction to the Kali Linux system. So what Kali Linux system actually is. All right, so Kali Linux system is also a Linux system. It is a Debian-derived Linux distribution. It was designed by a company called as Offensive Security. So it has like 600 penetration programs. Like it is specially designed to launch network attacks or any sort of cyber security attacks. And you can see the names of the tools that are like John the Ripper, Metasploit, Nmap, Wireshark. I'm going to show you these. Now I'm going to open the Kali Linux machine, and it would take a little bit time in restoring the virtual state. It would totally depend upon the hardware of your system, how fast it is. So it's open now. So this is the whole virtual machine, as you can see over here. And as I told you, it has various attack programs installed. You can see BetaCap and Beef and DNS Chef, Evil Grade, Fears, and tons of hacking tools are already installed in this operating system. And apart from this, you can also access to the internet using this system, as you can see over here. It's actually a it's showing actually a wired connected, because all the virtual machines, if there isn't any Wi-Fi LAN adapter allocated to the virtual machine, then it's going to show us a wired connection. Although I'm connected to a Wi-Fi machine, that is a wireless network. So I'm going to show you some of the basic commands of the Kali Linux machine. So this is the terminal, and I actually use this custom terminal in this machine because it provides me an advantage to use multiple terminals in the same window. Like I can open two terminals at the same time. So yeah, it provides me an advantage and definitely helps in saving a lot of time. All right, so let me show you some of the commands. One of the basic commands that I'm going to show you right now, that is called as the pathway directory, or PWD. So basically what it does is it shows us in what directory you are currently working in. So you can also use it using the options available. So this is the root directory. And if I want to see that what all directories are present in the parent directory, I'll type the next command, that is the ls command. It lists all the directories present in the parent directory. So you see downloads, documents, pictures, public videos, and everything that is in the root directory, it is showing over here. You can clearly see it. So this is how you can list the directories, and using the terminal, and you can even open files. Like if I want to open the download directory, I'm going to press cd command. So it helps us in navigating into different directories. So it's not showing me an error. I'll type cd again, and I'll type the name of the directory. Like I'm typing downloads. So now I'm in the download folder, and since it is totally empty, you can see over here. So it isn't showing anything. Even if I type ls, so it will be blank. So now if I type pathway directory, it will show me that I'm in the downloads folder that is inside the root directory. So now I'll navigate outside this, and it's the similar procedure, that is using the cd command. Now let me show you how you can list these commands. Like in case you don't understand the purpose of any sort of command, or you might not know how it is used, you can use man ls. It is actually a manual for the command. You see over here, it is totally telling you how it can be used. Every possible usage of the command is written over here, so you can use it this way. Apart from this, if you are not a fan of using the terminal and then using the commands, you can also do another thing. You can use this link. This is a website, mediacollege.com. It lists all the commands of the Linux operating system. You can see over here there are tons of commands, every possible command that you would use, and you don't need to learn these commands. They gradually, you become familiar to them with time. So I'm gonna drop this link in the chat box. This is one of the ways to learn, and another is explainshell.com. So this is a really interesting website. Supposedly, I don't know the purpose of a particular command, let's say pathway directory or pwd. So I'm going to type it over here. I'm going to press enter. So you see over here, it's totally showing me how this directory is used, and it also guides me to the main pages. You see, this is the Ubuntu documentation, and it's showing me all the possible commands that can be used with it. Yeah, so this is how the commands are used and how you can access the usage of these commands. All right, so let's head back to the presentation. So now we are going to talk about two tools in the operating system of Kali Linux that are used to scan the devices. One is the Netscan and Netscan, or you can say the NetDiscover, and the Nmap or the network mapper. So NetDiscover is used to scan the network to which your device is connected. So basically, it lists the IP addresses of all the network connected to your devices. And I'll just show you a demo. You can also check your own IP address. It's really easy. Even in the Windows, I'll type cmd. I'll go to the command prompt of the Windows. I'll type ip config. Yeah. So it's listing out all the possible connections into my Windows network. So this is the virtual network provided by the VMware, these two, and this is my original Wi-Fi data card that my laptop uses, and this is the IP address. This is the IPv6 address or the MAC address. I'm going to tell you about those later in the network basics section, and you must be familiar with the IP address. This is the IP address on the local network. So if you see, uh, I'll show you. This is the MAC address that actually is used. I'll go to Google, and it helps us in identification of the machines on the network. So I'll type what is my IP address, and Google is showing me this is your IP address. If you go to the command prompt, and yeah, it's showing me the MAC address over here. This is, you can see these are the similar IP addresses. So this is the address with which our machine is working on the internet, and it's also showing us the location of IP address. So this is how the IP addresses work, and now we are going to scan the IP addresses connected to our own Wi-Fi network, and I'm going to show you how. All right. So this is the Kali Linux machine. Now we are going to launch the virtual Windows machine. Just a second. All right. So I've changed my workspace in the Windows itself, and here I'm going to launch the virtual Windows, and I'm going to click on play virtual machine. So it's restoring my machine state. All right. And I'm going to click on close all tabs. All right, so let's open the command prompt over here and type ipconfig. All right, so this is the IP address of this virtual machine. So let's see if our Kali Linux machine is going to scan this. First of all, we are going to use a very basic tool for doing this, and that's called the Net Discover. I'm going to type Net Discover over here. So most of the programs that work in the Kali Linux to exploit the network lapses don't have a graphical user interface, or what you call as a UI interface. Like most of the programs in Windows have a UI on which you give the commands. So NetDiscover doesn't have any. I'm just going to type NetDiscover and I'm going to press enter. So NetDiscover has started scanning the devices. So basically what it does is it helps me in scanning the devices connected to the network to which I am connected to. So it would take a little bit of time in scanning the devices, and sometimes it might leave some devices out of the range, but right now it has scanned the device, and you can see the IP address that it has trapped over here. It is the same IP address of the virtual machine. Over here you can see 192.168 and 129. So yeah, it has scanned it, and it is showing me that what is the vendor. It is showing over here that it's VMware. In case if you are working in a real network, it's a virtual network right now, so it would have shown me, like suppose it was a cell phone, it would might have shown me the company of this cell phone, that it belongs to Samsung and stuff like that. All right, so this is how the Nmap works. Now let me show you the more advanced version of this. And yeah, here, now sorry, this was NetDiscover, and now I'm going to show you how Nmap works. All right, so it has scanned tons of IP addresses. Let me close this window. All right. So Nmap also doesn't have a graphic user interface. However, recently it was developed and it's called ZenMap. First of all, let me show you. This is how Nmap is. You just have to type the commands to scan the network. So I'm going to show you it using a graphic user interface, and it's called ZenMap. So I'll type ZenMap and I'll press enter. So this is ZenMap. It is actually a UI for Nmap, and this is the command that you should have used in the terminal of the operating system for Nmap, and it could have given you the same results. But right now, just to make things easier, I'm going to use ZenMap. And now let's specify the targets. I'm going to specify an IP range in here, over here, 192, where it is already suggesting me, you see over here, from 1 till 24, it's the same. And now I'm going to press on scan. It does take some time for scanning, but you have to be patient, and it has already started its scan over here. You can see it's scanning all the possible IP addresses. It has started its count from 0, you can see over here, and it's currently scanning and scanning. So yeah, it does take a little bit of time for scanning the operating systems, and I guess almost all of the scan is complete. So let me head over here. So you can see over here it has scanned an operating system that is our own virtual machine. And what is it states, it says guessing the operating system. So you can see the virtual machine that the Microsoft created, it's actually based on Microsoft Windows XP 92%, and other frameworks as well. So this is how it tells you that what are the possible, like what operating system is the device running on, and what all possible ports you can basically exploit. So it is showing me that 999 ports are closed, and there might be one port. This is the one port that is open, and it's showing me the address of that port. So you can even scan it using over here. This is the network topology, and it actually shows you in real time, like where might the possible networks be, so you can locate them easily. You see these are the various networks, and it's showing that most of them are locked, but we will be opening them later on. I'll be showing you how it is possible. So yeah, this was all about Nmap and how it works. There are tons of scans and it is a really good program. There's an intense scan which I actually launched over here, and then there's a quick ping scan. It and just tells you the IP addresses like net discover, so you can explore it yourself, the other functions. All right, let's close it and let's head back to the presentation first of all. All right. So now we will be understanding the network basics. So as I was telling you about IP addresses and MAC addresses, I already showed you how they work. So whenever you type on Google what my IP address is, it actually shows you the MAC address. So initially IP addresses were used in during the 1990s in the computers, but they ran out of IP addresses since it's a 32-bit address. Now 128-bit MAC addresses are used, which are much more detailed, and they are allocated to every machine that works on the internet and every computer. So that's all about IP addresses and MAC addresses, and they are used and they are fingerprints of the devices that work on the internet. So today I'm going to show you how these IP addresses and MAC addresses can be used in launching attacks. First of all, let me show you how a typical network works. So as you can see in this graphic, this is how a typical network works. There's an access point. This might be your router or anything like that to which you are connected. This might be a tower as well if you are using a SIM card connection. And this is what you call as the global web, and from where you are going to check your data, and you pull some requests and you give it to the access point. The access point will give these requests to the servers outside, and they will respond, and the respond will be given to the client. So like client one searches for google.com, it will go to the modem. From modem it will go towards the resources on the internet, and from internet there it will ask where google.com servers are located, and from google.com servers there will be a data that will be given to the access point, and from access point this data will be given to the client one from uh, where the request was launched. So this is how a typical network works. So it is really interesting that this is one of the ways you might exploit the network connection and launch some attacks. So what I'm today going to explain you is called as the man in the middle attack. So before learning how this attack works, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what ARP is. All right, you can study it yourself as well in case you want. Drop the link in the chat box. All right. So the address resolution protocol. Address resolution protocol, what does it really mean? It is basically a protocol that the devices follow to ping requests and identify the devices connected to the network which they are connected to. It is used when a device wants to communicate with some other device on a local network like a Wi-Fi. The sending device uses ARP to translate IP addresses to MAC addresses. So it tries to identify the MAC addresses on the network to which the device is connected. So this is the whole procedure. Like this device is launching an ARP request. It is going to the server, and from the server it is going to the host from where it is asking that which device has the MAC address, like supposedly this one. And from here, this device, all the devices will get the request, but only the device which has this particular MAC address will respond, and this reply will come and it will go to the host A. So let me show you how it works. I'm going to again open the command prompt and I'll type ARP. Let's not use it in the Windows. I'll go to the virtual machine. All right. So I'll type over here ARP -a. So this is the command that you use to launch the address resolution protocol. So yeah, here you go. It sent the request and it's showing me that all the devices that are active and what all are their internet addresses or the IP addresses and the MAC addresses over here. All right. So let's see what's the IP address of our own Kali Linux machine. If you want to identify that, you have to type if config. This is the command, and yeah, this is the IP address of the machine. All right. So this is how the ARP works. Now we are going to launch a man-in-the-middle attack, or what is called as the ARP spoofing. So how does this actually work? So suppose this is the access point or the router, this is the victim, and this is the attacking machine. So what spoofing does is that the attacking machine will change its MAC address. It will change its MAC address, and it will adopt the MAC address of the victim machine. So and to the victim machine, it will show the ARP request MAC address of the access point. So what happens is, let me show you. Supposedly, this is the MAC address that it has adopted, and this is the destination MAC address. Just a second. All right. So it will suppose this client gives a request to the attacking machine that I want this sort of data from the internet. So it will not give this direct request to the access point. However, it will reach towards the hacker, because according to the client machine, it is the hacker which is actually the modem. So here the request will be given, and from here the request will go to the router, and router will assume that this is the hacker machine is actually the client machine, and it will give all the data requested to the hacker machine. So this might sound a little bit confusing, so let us just try it, and it will be much better and easy to explain. All right, so let's launch the terminal again. All right, we are in the terminal, and now I'll show you something called as better cap, which we already saw in the app tray as well. So first of all, if I don't know what better cap means, I'll first of all type better cap, and then I'll type minus help. So it's it tells me all the usage that you can use for better cap and what all possibly it can help you in doing. So now I'll show you how better cap actually works. First of all, let me split this vertically, and here I'll type if config. So yeah, it's showing me to which Ethernet connection I am connected to. It's showing me ETH0 over here, and you can see it. Here it is. All right, so we are going to launch the beta cap now. There's a command to launch beta cap, and it is called beta cap. So we specify our network over here, that is ETH0, and I'll type enter. So it isn't showing me any errors. That means beta cap is working perfectly. All right, so now I'll show you the modules. I'll show you the modules that are used in beta cap. Just a second. All right, so as I was telling you, now the beta cap is perfectly working, and now I'm going to show you the modules that work on the beta cap. So this one module called as net.probe. So I'll type help net. First of all, I'll just type help. All right. So it's showing me the particular modules that are running right now. So I'll need a module called as net.probe, and I want to run this module in order to launch the attack. So I don't know the command. So all I will do is that I'll type as help net.probe, and this is totally telling me what it does and how it is turned on and how it is turned off. So I want to turn this on. Now I'll type net.probe on. So this is the command you see. That's the command I typed over here. And now I'll type, and it is working. So as you can see, it is totally working, and it's telling me the number of addresses connected to this network. Okay, I want to show you something. Now you'll observe the difference over here. Supposedly I'll type ARP minus A. You see the number of addresses that are connected right now. Now let's do an ARP spoofing. For doing that, first of all, you need to type, I'll type it over here, split horizontally, ARP minus A. All right, so these are the amount of ether connections that it is scanning. You can see over here, it has completed it. Tons of them. All right, it scanned almost every port. So now I'll just turn this off. All right, it's fine. And I'll even close this one as well. All right, so we have the full screen. Now it's good. All right, so now I'll type help. And now you can see there are 3 modules running in the beta cap since I turned on net.probe. So now to launch an ARP spoof attack or man in the middle attack that I told you, I'll type help arp.spoof. So this is how an arp.spoof command is used. It is listing me over here. I want to turn this on. So I'll type the command again, spoof on. So it is turned on and it is working fine since it isn't showing me any sort of errors. So now to launch an ARP attack, I'll have to use the command line of ARP spoof. So this command might seem a little bit complex, but this command actually helps in telling us that we need to change a MAC address to make the attack happen. And yeah, it isn't showing me any address, so it is perfectly working fine. All right, so I'll set the target machine. For target machine, I'll just type this thing. So where is our target machine? This is our target machine. This is the IP address of the virtual machine. So now I'll specify this to the Linux machine that I want to gain access to this machine. So how do we do it? p dot spoof dot targets. All right, so now we'll mention the target 192.168.189.129. You can use a comma to specify multiple targets at the same time as well. So yeah, I've shown it and I'll type enter. So it isn't showing me any error. So it is working perfectly fine. So I'll see the number of modules that are running currently. As you can see, Previously there were only 3 running modules, now there are 4 running modules. So now just the final step, I'll turn on the net sniffer, the same command. There we go. So it's perfectly working fine. So let's just type ARP-A over here. You see the MAC address of the virtual machine has changed. You see 3 similar IP addresses as compared to before. You see over here, this address was different than before, but now ARP spoofing is perfectly working fine and all the addresses are changed. So now if I go to the Internet Explorer over here or the Microsoft Edge, I'll just open something normal, like whatever it can be, Google. So it opened Google. All right, let's go to the machine. You see over here, it is monitoring the every search option that you are doing over there. You see over here, like it's telling me that what all search addresses I've been to. All right, so supposedly if I was going incognito, let's do that. Now I'll go to a site where we can possibly check more vulnerabilities. That's called vulnweb. All right, so this is vulnweb. I'll open this. I'll open this one. So this is the website you see over here. It has started listing it on a particular website. What particular website the host is currently working on. So now, suppose if I am a user of this website, I'm going to type login. Click on login. I'll type my usernames, just a random username. All right. Let me specify some sort of password, and it's done. I click on login. All right. I'm not a user of this website, so it didn't log me in. But if I was a user, it totally trapped my username as well as my password. So you see the amount of damage this particular tool can do, and it has given me access to the account of that website because the host machine uh, was penetrated by the ARP spoof attack. And if you see, I was on a private window. You can see over here in private window, and still it gathered every possible information of that website. And yeah, this is how ARP spoof or the man in the middle attack works. It totally, totally leaves every possible internet mm, request that your system pulls, and this can definitely hamper the privacy of the user. So now, as you have seen how the privacies can be exploited, so now we can move towards how we can protect ourselves from such. So as you can see, this particular website, it was an HTTP website. So HTTP websites are the most vulnerable websites that you get in the web, and these are the websites which are not used more these days. And these days, if you see, most of the websites come with HTTPS. You can see over here as well, this is the HTTPS. It is more secured and encrypted and a little bit immune to such attacks. Not totally, you can definitely enter these websites as well, and it's not that tough. But HTTP are the most easy to exploit websites, and it is showing me every possible network request that I launched. All right, so let's talk about how we can protect ourselves from such attacks. I'm going to close this. All right, I'm going to close this as well. All right, I'm going to close the virtual machine as well over here. So now we are going to talk about privacy and internet. So internet and privacy are antithesis of each other. You must be knowing that there are tons of data thefts that are happening every day. But apart from that, even the big companies like Google, they tend to have a lot more information that we might think we are giving to them. So there are a number of ways to protect yourself. You must be familiar with the VPNs. VPNs are basically virtual private networks. These are the servers provided to you by a particular company from where your internet traffic is routed to your computer. So most of the people tend to use the free VPNs. They tend to be slow and they might be unreliable. Maybe that company is stealing your data. Um, and if you're using a paid service, then definitely you're going to get the advantage of that. And then there's a Tor browser, or the onion routing. This is one of the browsers that is used to access the dark web, and it also protects your privacy. I'm going to show you just in a minute. And then we have the proxy server. This is also a paid server, and the most accessible service that you can get is possibly Tor or VPN, the free VPNs. So this is a number of data breaches that happened in 2020, 36 billion, and the amount of money that data breaches cost every minute, that is $2.9 million. So that's a lot of loss. And yeah, companies are definitely looking towards brilliant minds in cybersecurity to protect themselves from such losses. All right, so we'll head back to conclusions later. So I'm going to show you, like, as you see, if I type what my IP address is over here, Google provides me a much more comprehensive and detailed review. This is my IP address, this is my location. However, if I use a different search engine, supposedly the one in the Brave browser, this is called the DuckDuckGo, and I type what my IP address is over here. So you see it has changed my location, but it is still listing my IP address that is different from the one that we originally have. So that's some amount of privacy. Now I'm going to show you the advantage that you are going to get from a Tor window. So this is the Tor browser. It is totally secure. Now I'll type the same request, what my IP address is. But now, as you can see, your IP address is unavailable. As you can see, it has totally masked my IP address, and this is the stealth mode that you can get on the internet itself, and this can totally protect your privacy. Apart from this, you should prevent to accessing the sites with HTTP, and always try to use the HTTPS or HSTP. uh, HSTPS. It is used by Facebook and Instagram, and many other organizations as well. I was just giving the examples. So yeah, this is how all the privacy thefts can be protected. And apart from that, you should prevent yourself from connecting to public Wi-Fi networks. Use VPNs, proxy servers to prevent data thefts, and keep the password strength strong. Like, uh, some people might use quite simple passwords, and these might result in a lot of damage, since there are various ways, such as brute force. They actually try to exploit every possible option in a password once the characters are listed, and it's quite easy to exploit such passwords if they are of low strength. And apart from this, you should prevent installing files from unknown sources. Definitely, it might have a malware which might spy on you. And prevent visiting sites with HTTP connections, and try using antivirus programs. All right, so that was all for today's session. And if you do have any queries, so this is my email. I'm going to drop this in the chat box. Thank you all for joining today's session.